So, in a dick move that is so colossal, it's rarely seen outside of bird culture, Twitch decided to start showing ads to people who already pay for a Prime membership. Seems weird to me. And this is actually coming one day after Netflix decided to start showing people who pay for Netflix. If you watch my videos, then you're probably already aware of this fact, because it's pretty weird to have companies do the exact same thing one day after the other company does that same thing. Yeah. Now, obviously, as a YouTuber, I am not wholly opposed to ads. That is a good portion of how I make my income. I can't be mad at it, and I think in theory that there's a lot of poor people in the world that would much rather be exposed to the occasional ad than have to pay money for a service. So it's weird when they're still making you do both. Now, I kind of want to address why this is happening to everything. Not just Twitch and Netflix, but just fucking everything in the world. The answer is money, obviously. That's not a fucking secret to anyone. But it does get a little more complicated than just saying money or saying that there's these greedy people. Because I really think that to become a business as big as Twitch or Netflix or Facebook or Google or any of the other companies that we loved until they turned on us, to become a company that big, you have to have a lot of people that are really passionate about the goal of working there, like the dream. I just don't think there's any other way to really make a business become that successful. But inevitably, as a company becomes more and more about money, those people sort of start slowly dropping off. And there's actually a very specific... This isn't just like a human nature sort of thing doing. No, it's very much rooted into how business works in America, and that's what I want to get into. So basically, the moral of the story is why every company that you ever love will eventually betray you. So let's start with money, because that's where this is coming from. This is coming from the idea that a company just wants to make more money. And they do, but for a long time, a lot of the people working at that company realized that while money is important, the reason they got big is because they were willing to wholly dedicate themselves to the mission that they started out with. And that slowly starts getting convoluted thanks to basically investments. So take a company like Netflix. They need capital to operate. They need to be able to spend money to pay for the rights to get TV shows and stuff. They need to pay their employees. They need to pay for bandwidth. They need to pay for their office, advertising, just all that sort of shit. So they need dollars to make things happen. And as a business starts growing in our modern economy, basically you have people going in and saying, hey, I see that your business is worth, just make up a fucking random dollar amount. I see that your business is worth $10,000. I will give you another $10,000. Say, for example, I'm trying to simplify my math here. I will give you another $10,000 if you can earn me more money. So spend the $10,000 I'm giving you on advertising and buying more shows and stuff, so that a year from now you can pay me back more money because you'll be making more money. That's basically how investments work. People don't always want to cash out instantly. That's the general theory behind why the stock market works. People are buying shares of a company to give them more capital so that that company can turn around and make more money. So the whole system, the way businesses work, is that they are being driven entirely by the prospect of growth. So even if you have a company that's not growing at all, a company that every single human being on, let's say you have a company that every single, that grew to the point that every human being on the earth started using, that company would then fail. because at least in our current economic system, because to get to that point, a lot of people would say, hey, here's more money, make it worth more. Here's more money, make it worth more. And then once growth potential starts dropping off, people stop putting their money into the business, and then the business loses its capital. It's no longer able to sustain what it has going, and the business falls under. So if you're literally in the business world, if you're not growing, then you are dying. And that, unfortunately, is what leads to a lot of businesses sacrificing the core values that they initially got to in the first place, because at some point, a business realizes that it's not seeing the growth it wants. It's sort of hitting a ceiling, and I brought the examples of Google, Facebook, Netflix, and Twitch up for a reason. They are saturated. Every single person in their market has heard of them at this point. There is not a person between the ages of 18 and 34 that plays video games that hasn't heard of Twitch. It's just not a thing. So they need to find other ways of either growing or monetizing. If they don't think that they can reach out to a new audience, then they need to find ways to monetize their current audience more than they are. That way they can sustain growth. They need to be able to keep making more money and keep giving more value to their investors, whether or not their investors are individuals in the stock market or private investing firms. So that sucks. That sucks as an individual, a civilian, a person just trying to use a business, because it means eventually the people at Twitch, Netflix, Google, Facebook are sitting around racking their heads thinking, all right, how can we make more money? We certainly can't do it by expanding into a new audience. Someone's like, maybe advertising? And then a few other people at the table are just like, no man, we said we wouldn't do that. And they're just like, yeah, but like, think how easy, we'll just start small. We'll just start with a little bit of advertising. In the case of Netflix, it's just, hey, you know what, we'll just, in between the downtime where they're already not watching something, we'll throw in, a little ad for our own show, which, by the way, fuck that. Like, part of their announcement for this is like, there's ads in between the autoplay feature, but it's only for Netflix originals, we promise. That's all it's like, oh, fucking course it is! That doesn't make it better! You're already trying to fucking shove them down our throat. No one likes most of them. People got Netflix because they want to see the shows that they got taken off the air years Anyways, so yeah, so let's start small. It's the same thing with Twitch Prime. They're going like, hey, what is the exact verbiage they used here? They said, when we launched Twitch Prime, we were determined to give streamers the best value in gaming. Since we've seen it grow, blah 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 blah, we've been giving you more value, and so because you're getting all this other value, now we're gonna give you ads. Like, no, fuck off. Take away some of that other value, you guys. They can't do that because they have to keep basically taking. They're not if they would get bad press from taking away stuff. Probably not. I don't know what the fuck they're thinking. But in the case of another company, every time Netflix takes a show off, they lose value. Theoretically less people will want to get a Netflix account if they have less shows, but basically, they throw this little tiny ad in the hopes that it doesn't bother people that much, and that's the value judgment they're making. They're taking baby fucking steps. It starts with a little bit of advertising. It expands as people start to accept it. They just think that that's just how it is. That's how the world is. That's what people 10 years from now are going to be thinking when they are just inundated with ads on Twitch. Because right now, it would be too extreme of a step to take. No one at the main office is saying, like, hey, let's make people watch 12 minutes of commercials for every 30 minutes of streaming. Like, that would be absurd, and everyone would quit. But they can start small, only showing a little bit of ads to the Twitch Prime viewers, and then the same thing happened with Hulu. They started out like, hey, no ads, and they're just like, all right, it's a skippable ad, and they were like, well, it's just a 15-second ad, and then now when you watch shit on Hulu, it's just like 4 minutes. It's just like normal TV. And speaking of normal TV, they did the exact same thing. There's been a steady increase. What way is this in the graph? There's been a steady increase in the amount of time spent on commercials, basically ever since commercials were invented. Any one show can show too much and it gets pissed off, but on average, it increases. So basically, as people grow to accept it, the companies just take more and more and more and more because they inevitably have to, because they're constantly striving for that endless growth potential until they fucking collapse on themselves. There's not really a solution It's just up to the individual to not use a service if they think they're getting inundated with ads too much. I don't mind YouTube. I whitelist YouTube. I still don't mind the occasional 5-second ads. But there's shit that I just won't. Certain channels I won't go to on YouTube because, like, any musician's Vivo for like a 30-second ad, like, nope, fuck off. Just use Spotify. I'm not gonna do that. So I think it's important for individuals to actually have some standards because, ironically, even though I make my living off of advertising, I think it's just growing to absurd proportions. It's crazy. It's craziness. It's just, yeah, like, I'm always surprised at some of the places where you see advertising. Like, where's it gonna be in 30 years? Are we gonna be walking down the street and see like a lady pushing her stroller that's got fucking the Nike logo spinning on the rims as you go buy a sandwich? Is it gonna have the Doritos logo pressed into your bologna as you eat a sandwich? Like, there's always room for more advertising. There always is. So that's why it needs to be up to the individual to only engage in what they think is acceptable for them. So Twitch is pissing me off. Netflix is pissing me off. Google's pissing me off. And I think most people are going to attest to the fact I made a video a while ago. I wasn't kidding. I actually did switch to Bing for most of what I'm using. I use Thunderbird, which is a Firefox alternative, so I'm not having to do anything Google with my mail. That's what I'm trying to do, is actually get away with not using the services of the companies that just keep trying to reach, because they need to die. Those companies need to die once they reach that point. Or they have, at the very least, need to learn that there has to be some standard of behavior that people will not tolerate. Although I am in the minority, because that's where we're going to start talking about human nature, because most people will tolerate this, and it will just get worse until it probably inevitably becomes like a public service, and like basically like TV, and just collapses in on itself until a new media is born. So that's the future that we get to look forward to. Yeah.